according to National Electrical Code Section 314.28. A3. When dealing with conductors number 4 American wire gauge and larger in a raceway, you must comply with the markings inside the conduit body, such as an LB. Compliance means not exceeding the maximum quantity of conductors marked inside the LB and ensuring that the conductor sizes do not exceed what is stamped inside the conduit body. If a 3-inch raceway contains 4 250 kilo circular mills conductors and one number 2/0 grounding conductor, and the raceway is marked with a maximum conductor allowance of 3, with a maximum conductor size of 400 kilo circular mills, compliance with Code Section 314.28. A3 is unattainable in that specific scenario. That is not the complete interpretation of the code section, though. While Section 314.28 A3 addresses conductor installation in raceways, Section 370.16 B also applies, governing conductor fill-in raceways. Section 370.16 B states that conductors of different systems, circuits, and voltages should not occupy the same raceway, cable, or enclosure unless specific conditions are met. Firstly, circuits of different systems and voltages cannot share the same raceway without a barrier. Secondly, conductors operating at 600 volts or less and those operating above 600 volts cannot occupy the same raceway unless separated by a barrier. Thirdly, conductors of different circuits supplied from the same transformer cannot share a raceway unless all conductors from the transformer are within a single enclosure or separated by a barrier. Given the presence of conductors from different systems and voltages, specifically 600 volts or less and 1000 volts, within the same raceway, adherence to Section 370.16 B necessitates the use of a barrier to separate the conductors. An LBX conduit body, which incorporates a removable barrier, facilitates compliance with both Sections 314.28 A3 and 370.16 B. It is important to consider additional factors. The standard LB conduit body is only suitable for conductors up to 350 kilo circular mills. Therefore, its utilization would be precluded irrespective of barrier implementation. Note that the number 2/0 American wire gauge conductor serves as a grounding conductor, exempting it from the full calculations outlined in Section 370.16 B. Consequently, only the 250 kilo circular mills conductors necessitate separation via barrier. Here's a more detailed breakdown of the relevant National Electrical Code sections. Firstly, consider National Electrical Code Section 314.28, which pertains to pole and junction boxes, conduit bodies, and handheld enclosures. This section focuses on the minimum size and installation requirements for these enclosures to ensure proper space for conductors and cables. Specifically, 314.28 addresses the minimum size requirements for conductors number 4 American wire gauge or larger that are installed in a raceway or cable entering a pole or junction box, conduit body, or handheld enclosure. The main goal here is to ensure that there is enough space for the conductors to be properly bent and installed without damaging them or exceeding their bending radius limitations. Subsections of 314.28 I provide specific calculations and requirements based on the type of enclosure and the configuration of the conductors. Now, 314.28 A3 is about conduit bodies, where it states that conduit bodies enclosing angle pulls, U-pulls, or splices must meet specific dimensional requirements. The size of the conduit body must be sufficient to provide adequate space for the conductors to be installed without exceeding their bending radius. The conduit body must be marked with the maximum number and size of conductors permitted within it, and these markings must be followed. The general rule is that the conduit body should not be filled to more than 40% of its cross-sectional area with conductors. In addition, the distance between the raceway entries and exits within the conduit body must meet minimum spacing requirements to allow for proper bending and installation of the conductors. Next, National Electrical Code Section 370.16 addresses the number of conductors allowed in outlet, device, and junction boxes, and conduit bodies. This section is critical for ensuring that boxes and conduit bodies are not overcrowded with conductors, which can lead to overheating, insulation damage, and other safety hazards. Section 370.16 B focuses on conductor fill in boxes and conduit bodies. This section provides guidelines for determining the maximum number of conductors permitted in a box or conduit body based on its size and type. The number of conductors allowed depends on several factors, including the volume of the box, the size of the conductors, and the presence of any devices or equipment installed within the box. Firstly, a table is used, such as Table 314.16. A to determine the maximum number of conductors allowed in standard boxes based on their size. For non-standard boxes, a calculation is performed based on the volume of the box and the cubic inch requirements for each conductor. Secondly, equipment grounding conductors, such as ground wires, are also counted when determining the number of conductors in a box. Specific rules apply for counting these conductors, depending on their size and number. Thirdly, any devices or equipment installed within the box, such as switches, receptacles, or lighting fixtures, also take up space and reduce the number of conductors allowed. The space occupied by these devices is calculated based on their size and type. According to the question, conductors of different systems and voltages, specifically 600 volts or less than 1000 volts, are in the same raceway. Section 370.16 B says that conductors of different systems, circuits, and voltages should not occupy the same raceway, cable, or enclosure unless specific conditions are met. Firstly, circuits of different systems and voltages cannot share the same raceway without a barrier. Secondly, conductors operating at 600 volts or less and those operating above 600 volts cannot occupy the same raceway unless separated by a barrier. Thirdly, conductors of different circuits supplied from the same transformer cannot share a raceway unless all conductors from the transformer are within a single enclosure or separated by a barrier. The use of an LBX conduit body, with its removable barrier, is one possible solution that facilitates compliance with both sections 314.28 A3 and 370.16 B. Regarding the limitations, it is important to remember that the standard LB conduit body is only suitable for conductors up to 350 kilocircular mils. Therefore, its utilization would be precluded irrespective of barrier implementation if larger conductors are used. The number 2 of a zero American wire gauge conductor serves as a grounding conductor, exempting it from the fill calculations outlined in section 370.16 B. Because of this, only the 250 kilocircular mils conductors necessitate separation via barrier. In summary, compliance with National Electrical Code regulations requires careful consideration of conductor fill, voltage separation, and conduit body limitations. The use of appropriate conduit bodies, such as LBX with barriers, ensures electrical installations are safe and compliant with the code.